Good morning and welcome to another edition of Lakers Fast Break Spotlight on the Lakerholics weekend. I'm Jamie Sweet, your host. I'm wearing my new holiday Laker hoodie my wife got for me in honor of the last weekend of 2024 before the calendar year turns to 2025, aka the end of democracy. And if you think I'm going to not make jokes like that, you don't know me very well. And that's just fine. That's just fine by me. I'd like to thank Laker Tom. Michael will be here soon. We're just having email link issues. Gerald's helping us resolve that on the back end. So thank you, Gerald, for handling that jazz. Tom, how was your holiday?
It was good. I can't complain. It's we're living in a temporary home and just trying to get by for the year. But it's the first year I think we haven't had a Christmas tree in all of my life.
Oh, wow. Is that due to spatial issues or just no kids and a desire to not take?
It's just been due to a combination of the problems that you have around the holidays and so forth.
Sure.
I've been having some health problems. My wife's been having some health problems. We're in the process of building a new home. So we're in an apartment, and climbing stairs that we really don't want to climb anymore, and
right.
hauling stuff around. It's so we just sort of like took off this year. We just said, hey, let's wait. We're not going to spend a lot of money on Christmas and so forth, and so we've been a little bit of the Scrooges, I have to admit.
No shame in that game, especially when it comes to the decor. I mean, the company you spend and the quality of a single gift, I think, is generally enough to carry one through the holiday season. And
unfortunately, I am married to one of those women who is like the ultimate gift giver.
Oh yeah, well, that's
and she's got 3 grandkids, and so even in difficult times, she will just put together the most amazing array of gifts for somebody.
All right. I mean, I definitely remember a few years back when we got Mrs. Laker Tom's cookies. Those were spectacular.
Hey, guys.
Morning, Michael. How are you?
I'm on my phone right now, but I just got that link for whatever reason it was. The link wasn't working on my email on my laptop, so I'm going to try to sign into that. Hold on.
Okay. No worries. Anyway, I'm going to mute Michael while he does all that.
See, it's not.
There we go. We don't have to listen to him harangue through his tech issues. Oh no, maybe he's back now. Let's see.
Use that link.
All right, let's just go with the phone. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
We can see you this time, Michael. Usually you're in the dark, man.
Dude, do me a favor. Flip your phone. There we go. Now you're looking sexy. All right. So I was just inquiring with Tom how his holiday went. How did your holiday go?
Yeah, uneventful, kind of quiet.
All right. Mine was
nothing big.
Okay. Mine was we hosted my family, my sister, her boyfriend Oz, at our house for the first time in Christmas morning, and then we went to my aunt and uncle's a couple miles away and did Christmas evening there, and then we were home by 9:30, 10 o'clock, probably in bed by 11. And here we are.
Well, you didn't talk about the most important thing that happened on Christmas Day.
Oh, well, we'll get to that. Don't worry. Don't worry, because besides hanging out with my family and getting the sweet, sweet hoodie, I was privy to what was a great game on Christmas Day by the Los Angeles, by both teams. Both teams have played really well. That was what Christmas Day games are all about. It was interesting to me to see that more people preferred to watch the NFL, but I guess not really. There's some interesting things going on in the NFL. I happen to think it a fairly boring sport. Yeah. Other people don't.
1 of 82 versus 1 of 15,
it's coming down to the wire with some of these. I get it. But if you missed that Christmas Day game between the Warriors and the Lakers, you missed a classic. You saw everything you would want to see. Great game by LeBron. Great game by Steph. Overall team play.
Watch it live? Did you watch it live?
I watched the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter live. I was off and on just due to like how the timing of everything
I
worked
know
out.
it's very difficult during
It's-
Christmas to open
And
presents.
you can't tell your beloved aunt who's supposed to be like, can we just put everything off for like 2 hours? Is 2 hours a lot to ask?
Yeah.
And it truly
Well,
is. So,
catch this story. I went to my son's house.
uh-huh.
Okay, my son, a longtime Laker fan, has become a Warriors fan.
Well, we
And
can
it's
we can put a hit out
indoctrinated
on him if you want.
2 granddaughters into being Warriors fans.
Oh
We've
man,
been able to save my grandson as a Laker fan. They're both gambling. They both have big money on various results of the game. My grandson cannot stand to watch the game delayed. And my son is looking at the scoreboard while we're all eating dinner and everybody is, so my son knows what's happening with the game, but he's sort of being a real a-hole about it and dropping little hints in this. Oh, it's not going to go in overtime, but it's going to be, and on and on.
Right.
And so we're watching the game, and and it was just the most unbelievable ending of the game.
Well, I mean, credit Reeves for getting past Wiggins, who shaded him far too much to his right. Reeves isn't one of those guys who they've said like, oh, he can only go left or he can only go right. Reeves, that's one of the great things about Austin Reeves that's maybe a little bit unheralded in his skill set is that he really can get to the rim both ways. He doesn't need.
He's gotten quicker too. He's increased his quickness underneath. He knows that he's only got a millisecond to get that ball up, and
he is becoming an expert in the timing of his drives. I agree. Good morning, Intel. The other thing that game had that I thought was just absolutely amazing was a double player takedown by Draymond Green that to this day I still think should have been called a flagrant one because
technical. That's a technical foul on top. He should have been ejected.
Had he dislocated one of the shoulders of either Dalton Connect or Rui Hachimura, this entire game would be looked at through a very different lens.
That stuff is great when you're playing like an all-pro. When you're on the downside of your career and you're not playing like an all-pro anymore, all of a sudden the silliness of that really comes out, and the absurdness of it becomes.
Yeah, but he's been doing that his whole career.
Yeah,
it's not that he's gotten old,
No, but he's usually back in the past. He's been able to back it up by being a really elite player.
This year, he's just good. I mean, the thing about that foul was amazing. Like, they don't cross arm. It's illegal. So if you're not aware, the two guys who are guarding one guy on the other side of the free throw line, they're not allowed to lock arms, rugby style, and prevent you from getting to the rim. They have to keep their arms. Their arms can touch, but they can't. Arm bar you. So the first thing they say on the replay is that, well, the other guys are not allowed to lock up. Oh, well, they're not locking arms. Like, nobody locked any arms. You see Draymond go like this. Ah! And I'm just like,
you really could have pulled somebody's shoulder out of it.
He really could have seriously hurt somebody. And
that was so.
The fact that it wasn't called a flagrant one is still mind-boggling to me. The fact that they're like, oh, everybody's fine, let Draymond be Draymond. That's one of the reasons I think that people are turned off to the NBA a little bit, is because there is an exceptionalism that you maybe only see with the Kansas City Chiefs in NFL football. In terms of like weird penalties getting called at just the right time, in order for the outcome to be assured. And so, other than the Chiefs, I can't really think of. I mean, everybody gets refereed fairly. I feel like in the NFL. I mean, there's only 20 of them on the field, so it's hard for me to believe they can miss a call. But
they allow some players, Draymond.
Sure.
Just to go too far. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, Darren brings up a good point about Austin Reeves. So let's talk about the game-winning play. I really was surprised Reeves was able to get that loose.
He's gotten quicker. He got the shot.
But Wiggins is no slow.
Now he figured out what he's got to do.
Wiggins isn't slow.
And they were focused on LeBron also.
They were focused on LeBron. They were shading towards
LeBron. No rim protection, because the rim protection didn't want to give that pass up to LeBron.
Well, because we went small with Rui at the 5, there was no rim protection. Looney only played, I think, 12 minutes for the entire game, maybe even fewer than that. I can't remember. He barely played, and that was, I thought, a miscalculation on Kerr's part because we had nobody. Koloko was throwing it backcourt.
the Warriors like to play that size.
They believe in that small ball game, but in that instance, I think you give up because a 2 can beat you. In that instance, you're not. It's not like they were up 2 and we had to hit a 3 to win the game, right? It was tied.
Well, it was an illegal screen by Draymond, a two-handed moving screen.
He gets his WWE. He gets a WWE play once per quarter. It's just how it goes. But I think Darren's onto something here. Defenders are scared of Austin Reeves' pull-up foul baiting, and it's one of the complaints I actually have about Reeves' game is that he does go fishing for fouls a little bit too much. In this case, I do believe that Darren is onto something, and that it worked in his favor. It's one of those things that drives me mad when I watch Austin Reeves play is when he goes up for a shot.
Foul baiting gravity.
And then
a new term. That's really good. That's really good though. When you think
I hate it when guys go up for a shot and somehow their arms ends up over here and their legs off at another angle and suddenly they're at this.
Well, did you see that 4-point shot? That 4-point shot was basically, I thought that was an offensive foul.
Yeah,
he jumped into the defender, man.
Yeah, he did. But it
was one of those arms and legs akimbo type of shots,
And another thing that made that last play work too, that I forgot the woman that was announcing. She kind of pointed it out as well.
Yeah,
was Rui bumped off the help side defender.
Yes.
So he was late getting there.
Yeah.
So.
No,
it was
another reason why Kuminga basically should have protected the rim in that play.
Yeah, but that's not his. He's not elite at that. He's not. That's something he still needs to work on.
But he didn't even get to the front side of the rim.
No, because of Rui. I think Rui kind of bumped him off. That's a good observation, Michael. And I think ultimately this is one of those moments where I do want to give JJ Redick a little bit of credit. That's a design play. We didn't have a lot of that last season. We'll get into coaches and their futures a little later in the show. We will talk about Mike Brown a little bit and how that, in my mind, relates to some of the things within the Lakers themselves and a trend in the NBA in general I don't really much appreciate. But I do want to take a moment to that was a great Christmas Day game. It had everything you could want. Like I said, you had a WWE Raw Draymond Green takedown, at least one. Maybe you could count 2 at that offensive screen. Some great shot making from LeBron, some great shot making from Steph Curry. That little side shot from the corner to tie the game was just one of the more ridiculous shots I've already seen this year. It was just a great game all around, and I thought that everybody on the Lakers played well. I have a problem starting to have. I like the development goal. And granted, there's not a lot of options when it comes to centers, and so Christian Koloko is basically being pressed into active game duty on a game-to-game basis. It's very hit or miss for me. I understand the potential. I think he would be better served if we were all healthy, playing more consistently at the G League and getting reps and developing basic skills at the G League level, because he makes a lot of fundamental errors. Outlet pass fundamental errors are common. And just rushing. I think a lot of it is rushing. And that's to be expected. He hasn't played in over a year. This is his first game back since a serious medical issue forced him to shut it down on the Raptors over a year ago. And so it's just one of those things that we don't have a great option after AD. And when AD went down with the ankle, there were even fewer options. There was a huge gap of minutes. You can't ask LeBron to play the 5 for 48 minutes. Really can't play the 5 for 48 minutes.
We were lucky that we were playing the Warriors, man.
We were lucky that we played the Warriors.
Yeah,
they
were the right matchup for that situation because they played small anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, they definitely play small anyway. And I like some people.
I mean, who else when we took AD out wouldn't have gone big against us,
Everybody. Every other team, maybe not. Houston even has legit set of shooters with skill. So yeah, everybody, literally everybody. Maybe not Dallas because they could play Washington. Anyway, point being is I thought everybody stepped up and played great. I don't mind Rui at the 5 in the right matchups. Some people have a problem with Rui at the 5. They don't think he's built for it. I do think he's built for it because of his weight, because of his center of gravity. He can hold his own against a guy Draymond Green-esque size, or somebody who's not trying to overpower you like Embiid. He had, once Jokic figured out how to spin off that pressure, that trick that Ham deployed for 2 or 3 games 2 years ago went away. I'm not saying anything about Rui being able to guard Joker. When you're playing a small ball lineup, Rui at the 5 is an option, and I think he's a better option than Koloko. because he's an
Well,
offensive threat.
the thing about Coloco that I've noticed is that sometimes he's not in the right spots and so forth, but he still constantly makes good plays. He gets rebounds, he gets blocks, he contests shots, and he always, almost every single game, he comes out with a positive plus minus.
Well, he's on the floor for very limited controlled bursts. Michael, your thoughts on Coloco?
Well, I just think he needs more seasoning. I mean, he missed an entire year last year, and his rookie year, let's not forget. I mean, he got some starts because of injuries, but he only played about 15 minutes a game in his rookie year. He just needs more experience, I think.
I tend to agree.
But we don't really have a lot of options right now.
Zero.
As far as Rui at the center, he did a really, really good job against Sabonis. I mean, JJ called him out for how, the job he did. And that's why he felt comfortable playing him against Detroit. But Detroit has that big, huge, really, really strong, was it Duran, his name is? He's more of a handful than Sabonis around inside, So it's definitely okay in some situations, but we really need to get some guys back, and I mean,
the problem is with the guys we've got coming back aren't going to be guys who are going to fill either of the two potential center roles that we have or need.
I disagree.
Going to start, and neither one of them really are a rim protector to be able to protect that rim. So we've got to, at least in the least case, get a backup rim protector for when AD sits. And in an ideal case, it'd be nice to have a guy who could also play along with AD against certain matchups.
I don't know about that. I think that Hayes is he's serviceable. He's like Coloco. He's about as good as Coloco.
He's improved dramatically, and he's a good pick and roll scorer and dunker, but he doesn't protect the rim. It's almost a million.
No, I mean both Coloco and Hayes are kind of foul prone. One of the things that stood out to me from the game on Christmas was how Dalton Connect came back, showed up for Christmas. He opened the gift of his jump shot returning on Christmas Day.
Except his three, he has to get his three back.
I mean, I know he was 1 for 5 on 3, but he was aggressive off the dribble, which I didn't mind seeing, and he had some offensive rebounds, which I always like. He's an active for a rookie. He's active around the rim when it comes to rebounding, and I appreciate that. Reeves,
I had a thought on that, Jamie.
Sure,
that his mid range might help his three because he's taking people off into the paint, hitting that mid range. They're going to have right now they're crowding him. Yeah. But if he does that enough, they're going to have to start respecting his ability to do that, which may give him a little bit more space on his three to get a good look off.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Reeves is outside of that. If he doesn't hit that game winner, you look at Reeves and say, well, this guy had a bad game, and that's why we lost. He was 8 for 20, 4 of 10 from 3, which isn't terrible. But before that game winner, he was 7 for 19, and that's looking 8 for 20 looks a lot better when that game.
At least he didn't turn it over 6 times, so
No, yes, that is true. He did not turn it over. In general, our turnovers were pretty good that game. Right. I think we did not have double-digit turnovers. Yeah, we only had 9.
You want to hear something on the turnovers though?
Please.
We had 5 turnovers through the first 3 quarters. We were completely controlling the game.
Yep.
We had 4 turnovers in the fourth quarter, along with 3 offensive rebounds that led to 8 points.
No,
we basically kept them in the game ourselves.
That was their comeback, right? They upped their energy in the fourth quarter, and we didn't match it.
Right.
Which is an issue.
You have to look at the fact that what we were missing. You're missing
AD.
You're missing AD.
Yeah.
And there was constant pressure. And we get off to these lead. We couldn't get that lead past 10 or 11, and there was constant pressure. And I was really impressed with how multiple people at various times came up with big plays.
It was a complete team effort.
It was a great team effort. And, whether it was Christie hitting a 3 at a critical moment, or D'Lo hitting or Reeves hitting a 3, or getting inside and doing some of his fancy drives and stuff. He's really frustrated. When Reeves Reeves is the kind of player that, man, you hated to guard when you played basketball because he's just constantly moving around, and he just wears you out. You know, it's like Steph. Those kinds of guys are just enough to drive you crazy. You know, you'd much rather get a guy who likes to stay in the corner and wait for his 3-point shot, you know, and just have to think about, do I help off of this guy this much or not, and so forth. But man,
let's not forget D'Angelo Russell was out on Christmas Day as well with that sprained thumb, and I haven't heard if he's back yet. I think he's still questionable, and I haven't heard that anybody is
probable.
I heard he's okay.
Probable.
Or sorry, thank you. Probable, questionable, probable. What's the difference? It's like,
well, LeBron's been questionable every game this year. How's that?
Yeah,
you know,
well,
not
LeBron,
got to be some violation of league protocol.
No, you have to list them as being questioned. You have to give an update at the proper time, and then it's all bets are off. But you have to like kind of give people, oh well. Basically, you have to let Vegas
you're questionable every day, but you play.
Yeah, that's just to let Vegas odds makers have a shot at making money. All right. So, what are the other bright spots of the game? Even though he didn't make a lot of shots, I'm really coming around. He made clutch shots, but he didn't have a great efficiency night for him, and he's been pretty efficient all season. Max Christie's. I'm not going to say I am sold on him being a starter full-time. I think he is making the most of this opportunity, which is exactly what you should do as a young player. And it's one of the complaints I often have about young players on the Lakers, especially in preseason, early in the season. You see a young player come in and they just kind of loaf around. They're not like giving like max. It doesn't to me look like they're giving max effort. And then they wonder why they're not playing later in the season. I'm like, well, when you had a chance, you kind of like took it easy. And you don't get a lot of chances in the NBA. You need to make the most of what you have. And I feel like Max Christie, for a guy who didn't play a lot under Darvin Ham, who I wouldn't say was in the doghouse, but just didn't have much of a role on that team, has found a nice role on the JJ Redick team and is, I think, doing okay. I definitely still see him as more of a off the bench guy. There are several players I would play in front of him.
We're starting 3 off the bench guys. That's our problem.
Reeves is.
He's a 6th man on a championship team. On a championship team, he is a 6th man.
He's right there, though, man. Ideally, yes. Like if we had De'Aaron Fox, yes. Or you slide him over to the starting 2 guard, and then that absolves a lot of those issues.
It's not a big enough scorer to be a 2 guard, starting 2 guard.
No, but he's like a Luke Walton wheel greaser.
He's a combo guard. He's a combo guard, and he's destined to be the 6th man.
We'll see about that. I'm not sure.
So many people want to trade for Austin. I guess everybody wants to put him on the bench.
That's right. Everybody.
Well, what's interesting is the trade proposal that came out from Sean Davis, which was basically that suddenly the Lakers have 2 guys that might be very attractive little trade bait. And
4 guys.
Connect and Reeves. But when you think about young players with potential, that getting young players who can play at a starter level or close to a starter level and they're on these cheap contracts, that's as valuable as those draft picks that we're holding out there.
Austin Reeves is an all-NBA. He's an all-NBA gamer.
Thank you for subscribing.
He is an all-NBA gamer. He goes at it. He doesn't let up.
Yeah, that's what he's got that dog in him, right?
Boundless energy. He's somebody that you really want on your team. And
would you trade Reeves and Connect for
De'Aaron Fox? Yes.
Yeah,
yes. That's for sure. Frankly,
here's the deal with that whole deal is he's not getting traded this year. No, he's not. They just fired the coach for him. Fired the coach for him.
He's in the same spot that AD was in. He's in the exact
same. If you guys want to see a coach, fire himself. Watch Mike Brown's his post game after that loss, where he continues to rag on Fox throughout for about 8 minutes.
Yeah, right.
And they already had meetings with the ownership over. Mike Brown has been ragging on Fox. Head coach, NBA head coach 101. Do not piss off
your
the
star
star.
player.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I
Yeah.
don't necessarily mean that.
No, he knew he was gone. He knew he was gone at that point.
There's a lot going on behind the scenes in Sacramento. I mean, none of us have ever accused the Sacramento Kings of being a well-run organization. I guarantee you that. And they've made blunder after blunder after blunder after blunder.
Thank God it was them that did the DeMar DeRozan blunder and not us.
That's right. That's right. And listen,
Really,
I have great appreciation for DeMar DeRozan. As
Scary that somebody in our front office was pushing for DeMar DeRozan. Probably the same guy that would push for.
4 years ago, I was pushing for DeMar DeRozan over Russell Westbrook. I would have taken DeMar over Russ all day, every day, and we would have kept probably one of KCP or Caruso, and that actually isn't the worst thing for us. But I digress. It didn't happen. DeMar DeRozan is never going to end up as a Laker unless he shows up in a couple years from now on a vet minimum contract.
You think we can win tonight? I mean, talk about your trap
Let's
game,
move on.
Jamie.
Well, this is a trap game.
Is this a trap game or is this a trap game, man?
It depends on who can play. I mean,
that's what I was.
Well, I could make it an even worse trap game.
AD's questionable.
Everybody's questionable. I think AD's going to play. I think LeBron's going to play. I think Rui might not play, just to give him a day of rest. Maybe not.
Well, what is the sickness that they've got? Is it just
I don't know. I just said both of them illness.
There's a bunch of junk going around anyhow. And
I know.
I've got a little sniffle. Tom's got a.
Everybody that I know has got some deal going on.
I've got a sniffle. Tom's 80, so those things all work themselves out in some way or another. No, but Laker fan favorite and number one member of the Rick Fox fan club, Duck Christie, is now the head coach of the Sacramento Kings, the interim head coach, I should say. I think that's an interesting move. And this brings me to one of the things I want to talk to you guys about, and we'll start with you, Michael.
Yeah, Max's brother.
Brother or half brother?
That's his brother.
I thought it was brother. Okay. Oh, all right. Well, that's good.
Brother and first name.
That's where he gets the defensive chops from. So one of the things that bothers me in the modern NBA is
3-point shots. I know, we all know.
That's a summer discussion. Is the fall guy always being the head coach? He's the easiest guy to fire. There was an outpouring of other head coaches, backing up Mike Brown this morning and the news that he got fired for, as you say, getting on a superstar player. I actually think that's the mark of a good coach or a potentially good coach. If you're not afraid of your superstar, and if your superstar can't take it, they might not be a superstar. And that's, to be honest, my one complaint with De'Aaron Fox is if you can't take Mike Brown calling you out when you're the highest paid, got the ball in your hands the most, take the most shots, you're on all the posters, yada, yada, yada. Maybe there's a problem with you. And you need to look inside and say, I need to do better. I need to be a better leader. I need to be a little bit more accountable because this is, quote unquote, my team.
Or we can all just look at the truth and say the front office screwed up.
That's the truth.
And Mike Brown is getting fired because the front office screwed up.
The common denominator in most head coaching firings, I believe, is that the front office makes a big trade or does something to disrupt what was it.
And the coach doesn't do a good job of taking advantage of those players Therefore, we're firing the guy.
They were one of the most clutch teams. Anyway, I have a question for you, Michael. I'm getting to it. I'm sorry. They're one of the most clutch teams last season. The last 2 seasons, De'Aaron Fox is consistently one of the most clutch players in the NBA. They brought in DeMar DeRozan, who is also one of the most clutch players in the NBA. And I happen to think that created a deluge, that it diluted the potential, that you don't double down on that. You do something to help augment your superstar skill set. They didn't do that. They brought in somebody who's really just going to potentially take the ball away from De'Aaron Fox and set up his own last and second shot or, execution down the stretch. As a result, they're one of the worst crunch teams in the NBA this season. Your thoughts on all of that, Michael?
Well, for the first thing, DeRozan was a poor fit for that team, but what they really needed to bring in more defensive help, And,
agreed.
And there's another thing that created an illusion that these guys were going to be much better. 2 years ago, when they were the 3rd seed in the West, if you recall, that was the year that just about everybody was hurt. That was one of the reasons why the Lakers were able to get all the way to the conference finals, because everybody had at least one major player out. And the Kings, on the other hand, had almost a historically good health issue that nobody got hurt on that team. So I think that artificially raised the bar a little bit for them. Everybody thought that it was supposed to be, they were on their way when a lot of it had to do with just health. But yeah, they needed more defense. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the league. And they brought in another offensive player.
Yeah.
And I think that was their downfall. And Mike Brown's paying for it. Going from the first unanimous coach of the year in NBA history.
Technically, he's getting paid for it.
Yeah.
He just signed an extension last summer.
I think they were just, it usually is the front office problem. I mean, look at all the coaches that Rob's fired because he screwed up, You
said it, not me. I just happen to agree. Tom, thoughts on the idea of coaches being the fall guy for bad front offices? I know we're probably all.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's just really no solution for that. and because it's fair. It's everything, listen, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and the truth of the matter is everything starts with the person at the top. It's Jeannie Buss's problem. That's why Rob Pelinka is still there, because Jeannie Buss is not running the organization the way that she should be running an organization. And the Lakers have traditionally always run things from their own Rolodex rather than looking out at the whole world and thinking of who they could hire. It's who do we know, and if we don't know them, then we're not going to trust them to
who is good friends with Kobe.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, Kobe's ghost is running the franchise. We know that. But I do think that there's a point of no return that every owner lives with. We saw Jeannie essentially fire her brother, and I think Rob Pelinka, if he screwed up this time, he's probably going to lose his job. There's a limit to even what Jeannie Buss can do.
I just found the react button. And I'm like, if Tom's going to talk about Rob getting fired, I'm going to give that a hooray.
Yeah, I think that, that's a double-edged sword, because we know how indecisive he can become and how paralyzed he can become trying to make a decision when you don't have a vision for the team and you can't even decide whether or not to invest in LeBron and AD. You don't know what you're going to do about LeBron's successor. And so you go through all of this stuff, and then you're thinking that you're on this pressure cooker that if you screw up, you're going to lose your job. He could damn well just say, we're not going to do anything until summer,
Yeah, but no, that's bad. That's bad. That's just kind of, that's bad poker. Nobody.
But listen, to be honest with you, I don't expect to be happy with what Rob does.
Listen,
I haven't been happy with it for 3 years,
Perhaps
a lot of this though too is this is the new NBA. It's not easy to do anything anymore.
Yeah, bullshit.
It is.
Look at what the Suns have gone out there.
Look at
what the Suns have done and the Celtics have done.
One trade since the summer, Tom. One trade, and the Celtics did all their stuff before the new CBA.
But every time there's a new name that comes up, there are teams that are seriously interested. You hear that somebody is seriously. Every time I've heard that the Suns are seriously interested in somebody, there were actual discussions and several times trades. And
when last year?
No, that's okay. That's just putting way too much
assumption. No
trades
being done.
Just because the Lakers aren't the leaky ship they used to be with Magic Johnson running it, and you happen to know who is going to the bathroom at any time on ESPN, Twitter.
Well, they don't have to. They don't have to because everybody else is making up stuff about us. So, it doesn't matter.
Joe, there's a react button on the bottom bar when you're hosting. It's fantastic. It's hold on. Wait. It's great. All right. Okay. So listen, my thoughts on this are it's almost never the coaches. It's almost never the manager in baseball. It's almost always the team that was assembled. And in this case, I think we all agree that Mike McNair, isn't that his name, or Monty McNair? Somebody, Monty McNair over in Sacramento is the one to blame for this, and Mike Brown, who has done an excellent job turning that team's culture around and getting them to minutely focus on
Darwin Ham. I happen to think Darwin Ham did a terrible job.
I don't think he did a terrible job. I think the things that he did poorly, he did really poorly, and the things that he did well, he did pretty well. I mean, you don't get to the Western Conference Finals by accident. You don't.
By luck.
Okay, all right. That's
actually, we did get there by accident.
No, we certainly did not. We certainly did not. Then the Boston Celtics won the NBA title by accident last season. It's just the way the dice roll. I mean, it's professional sports. Not everybody is healthy all the time. Not everybody is available when you want them to be available all the time.
No,
it's just how it works.
In fact, if you took most of the teams in the league, if you took the top 15 teams in the league, and one of them could be totally healthy, they probably would have a good chance of being in the finals.
Joe, I don't know how we didn't know about this, but it's right there. It just says react on the bottom. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, all right. Next thing. Today's game, I'm calling the Lakers to win. Tom?
I think we're going to crush them.
Okay. Oh, crush them. I think it's going to be a squeaker. I think it's going to be close.
I think
Fox is going to drop fifth. He's going to
drop.
The
Kings are going to fold. The Kings are going to fold like a
Michael.
I hate to make a prediction when I don't know who the hell's playing.
Yeah, I know.
Part of the prediction. That's part of
the Lakers too. Is Sabonis going to play? He's been sick also. So who knows? If we have enough healthy bodies, we'll win. If we're without LeBron and Rui and AD, we'll lose. Let's put it.
Well, yeah. I think that's fair. All right, next thing up. Let's talk trades.
Mute Tom now.
I happen to think, I don't know how that got on there. I happen to think the Lakers have enough to get De'Aaron Fox. I don't think the Kings are going to let him potentially walk for nothing. And I think the next month is going to be determinant for several teams in the association, not just the Kings. I think you're going to see Indiana and the Kings really have moments of where are we at. Indiana and the Kings are both two teams that have vastly underperformed from last season. As always, Portland and their never-ending fire sale, Brooklyn and their never-ending fire sale. These teams are on the Washington, never-ending fire sale. All these teams have players somebody may or may not want. But if you're looking to acquire a superstar level talent for what the Lakers can actually offer, I don't think you have any other place to look other than Sacramento, maybe Indiana. I have a hard time seeing them move on from Miles Turner this season. But
it's the money issue, though. They've got a lot of young players that have got to get big.
Well, this is why I bring up Miles Turner, because I do think that Miles Turner, for the money, is probably the best player you could put next to Anthony Davis. There are probably better players, but for what it would cost to get Miles Turner, I don't think we're going to get Walker Kessler. I don't think Danny Ainge is going to take anything less than like 3 first-round picks and your mother's kidney to get Walker Kessler. It's just how he does. There's no need for him to give up. There's no need for him to sell low. He's going to try to squeeze the blood from a rock. So you can't really engage. Like if you know that he's just going to be absurd, you can't go down the road of absurdity.
I do think there is a chance, though, that if you were to give him both picks and get something back, that you maybe could use that 27 pick by converting it, taking off the protection on that. You just have to give him other stuff to make it worthwhile for him. But you know, when you look at the Fox trades that was proposed by Sean Davis, which is basically 2 unprotected first round picks and 2 unprotected first round pick swaps, plus D'Lo, Dalton, and Austin. That when you look at the package of young players that we would be giving in Austin and Dalton, that's really a pretty attractive package. Those are 2 players, especially with Reeves's contract and his performance and Connect's potential and his contract. And you got the equivalent of 4 post LeBron James first round draft picks, basically unprotected. I think there's a good chance that the Lakers, that might be the best offer that they get for Fox.
Well, this is one of those times.
He's a 9 or 10th. He's like 8, 9 or 10th best point guard in the league. He's not a top 5 point guard.
I would put him a little higher than 9 or 10. I would say he's like 7 or 8, 6 maybe. But I think
I looked up and I see he was 9th on 2 of them and 10th on 1 and 8th on 1.
I think he's not on a team that suits his skill set. He's not the number one. He's the number one offensive option, but he's not the number one ball handler. They often let Sabonis run the action from the high post, right. And I think that's to Fox's detriment. I think that he's a better ball player with the ball in his hands. He's not a great off the ball player, and because he's not a great defender, that also. But I mean, I would take De'Aaron Fox over Trae Young. I would take De'Aaron Fox over LaMelo Ball.
I would take Fox over Young just because he's got a little more size and he is a better defender than Young, which is not hard.
And you could argue that Young is a better ball distributor, and that may or may not be the case. Michael,
he is. I mean, the guy averages twice as many assists.
Yeah. So
Fox is a combo guard assistant maker. With 5 assists.
Yeah, but he's a better bucket getter. He's more in line with a Kobe Bryant type player. You don't need him to make a ton of plays. He's going to get buckets. Michael, your thoughts on the Lakers? The reality, like it's a snowball's chance in hell, right? Like it would basically require Fox demanding a trade mid-season.
But he was at the same point with a year left that AD was when they pulled that same trick with Pelicans.
Well, unfortunately, we don't know what's in De'Aaron Fox's mind. I mean, I guess they could have a meeting with Rich Paul, but that's against the rules. So,
is it?
So,
well, Rich Paul did. No, Paul just did have a meeting with Monty.
Yeah,
in Sacramento.
And I'm sure that De'Aaron Fox's name did not come up.
Ever.
Because you can't do that in the NBA.
Yeah.
But we'll know a little shortly. Yeah, if he comes out, we can't beat anybody with the trade. Yeah, the teams that would be interested in him, we can't beat.
I don't know.
Rockets would be interested in him, unless Fox says, "The only place I'm going to resign an extension with is the Lakers."
Yeah.
If he's willing to go anywhere, then Houston has him. I mean, they have younger players, and they have much more draft capital.
But they already got good guards. They don't need.
They're being mentioned as one of the top suitors.
I mean,
and they've got Fred VanVleet, but he's not De'Aaron Fox.
He's rated. He's rated pretty close to him in a lot of those drafts. He's
pretty good. He's helped take.
It's the age difference that is the big differentiator.
Yes, that I would agree with. You're building for a future with De'Aaron Fox. You're trying to win now.
As who's a better point guard right now? They're not that far apart. But one guy's 35 years old and the other guy's 27.
One IV or whatever. I don't know what I don't know what that. One IV. He has indicated that he is going to opt out after this year. He will not be signing an extension. So I do believe he will be an unrestricted free agent come the summer. But I could be wrong. It could be the following summer, and he's got one more year on that deal. I can't remember off the top.
Who's that?
No, he's got one. He's not this summer.
Fox has one more year after this one.
That's a good point. Then One Ivy. I thought he was going to be an unrestricted free agent this summer. That's my bad
No.
right here. That's my bad right here. So
He's just like AD. He has
Sacramento
1 more year to go.
Sacramento can definitely afford to wait. So I do think it's a long shot. I think it's worth mentioning because we're playing the Kings today. Mike just got fired. Yada 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 yada. I mean, there's a world where it happens. It's a very distant.
So let's look at the second player that I think I agree with you, Jamie, and I don't know. We'll see what Michael thinks, but I think the next guy who would be somebody that I would consider. I wouldn't give up both Connect and Reeves, but Miles Turner to me is such a perfect fit on this team.
Yeah,
that I would be willing to give up one of those two guys.
I would too, because you need to give up something to get something. I don't know if it would be Connect. He just doesn't make enough money. If I was going to give up, and I don't see his fit instantly on the Pacers because of Siakam Siakam. I always forget which one went to New York and which one went to Indiana. Siakam went to Indiana. He's at best going to be like a backup 3. So I don't know that you trade Miles Turner for a backup 3 and cash relief. Maybe you do.
Well, you're going to give him draft picks. I mean, that's
but they're not going to trade him. They're not going to trade him.
Well, you don't think? Well, let's see.
Indiana's goal is to make the playoffs.
Of course,
Small markets want to make the playoffs. They don't have any. The thing about Miles Turner is, number one, Thomas Bryant is now your starter if you trade Miles Turner, because they have all of their backups tore their Achilles. So you have Thomas Bryant as your starter if you trade Miles Turner.
Yeah, but they're almost tanking this year at this point.
They're almost tanking.
Not.
They're 15 and 17. They're not almost tanking. They're 15 and 17. They're 8th in the East. They have a terrible point differential. They give up a lot. They give up a lot of points, 116.8 a game. Compared to our 112, our 113.8 a game. I mean, this is the modern NBA. I always think, wow, that's a lot of points. And then I look at everybody and I go, oh, everybody's giving up 110 points a game.
110 is a good defensive rating.
It's terrible. It's not good.
110 points a game. That's a good defensive rating.
It's absolutely. The 90s basketball is rolling over in its grave right now.
Pretty soon there'll be nobody under 100 in a defenve rating.
I agree.
A couple of guys. The only guys who make it now under 100 are guys who only played a few minutes and happen to, have a good rating during that period.
No team only Orlando gives up 103.6 in the East, and OKC leading the pack with 103.5 defensive rating in terms of opponents' points per game. Okay, listen, I think Miles Turner is gettable. I think you're going to have to overpay for all these guys. I don't think you're going to get them for a bargain. I don't think you're going to get them for a deal. And
Would you rather have the right guys or a bargain?
Well, it depends on the bargain.
Find the right guys, pay what you got to do to get the right guys, and you're assured of success.
I know you are absolutely not assured of success.
Well, you have a better chance, you have a better odds of success by getting the right players and paying what they cost.
I don't know. Michael, your thought. Do you even think Miles Turner's – he is an expiring contract. Miles Turner's on a $19,925,000 expiring contract. If the Pacers want to cut salary, they're only going to take an expiring contract back. So now we're not even talking about Connect. We're probably talking about D'Lo and picks and salary filler to make the money work, because I think D'Lo – well, no, that would probably work in the trade machine because it's only about $1 million. Mm-hmm. The problem for the Lakers is that they're now sending out more money than they take back in, because I think D'Lo makes a little bit less than that, and so they would have to
18-4.
So yeah, they don't have. They actually need to send out one more player to make the trade.
D'Lo and JHS.
Sure, the legendary trade filler known as Jalen Hood.
Well, and you try to stick another guy in there simply so that you can get 2 roster spots opened up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
As far as I'm concerned, first of all, Indiana's not going to trade him. I'm 99% sure of that.
Sure.
They want to keep their fans engaged and excited. They would, if they traded Miles Turner. I think that they would be. There'd be a riot, especially if they miss the playoffs because of something like that.
They're going to miss the playoffs.
But they're not going to miss the playoffs. They're going to be in it.
They're in the playoff right now.
Yeah, they'll be in the play-in. I mean,
That's
they
fine
may
for
be
small
playoff.
markets. Don't care.
not every franchise has Lakers expectations. Let's
I agree.
just put it that way. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade for Miles Turner because I don't think we need Miles Turner. I don't like the two center lineup anymore, especially because I don't want to watch LeBron die on the court as he chases wings at 40 years old for the next 60 games.
All right.
And what we do need is we definitely need a center. I think we could get our backup. I like Nick Richards with the Hornets.
Uh-huh.
He 10 points a game, 8 boards a game in 2.5 offensive and a block and a half a game in 23 minutes. And the asking price for him is 2 seconds. That for me would be a good trade because he'd be a very solid backup, because what we really need is a defensive. The problem I have with bringing in another center is we have the best defensive center in the NBA in AD.
Who doesn't want to play that position?
Nobody can go out. Miles Turner can't get out on the perimeter like AD and guard point guard.
But Miles Turner can allow AD to be able to go out and guard whoever's out there.
Now, AD is going to be in the corner watching the 3-point shooters.
No, he's not.
I just think
it's the whole thing. The whole point of getting a second big man in there is, number one, to fix the size disadvantage that we consistently face.
What size disadvantage? We have one of the largest front lines in the NBA, Tom.
It's
how
the
many
same
teams
because Rui can't defend. Rui is not a defender.
Not right now. Not with Hayes out. We certainly have a need for a backup big to augment the lineup when AD sits.
Yeah.
I'm
We
fine
also have a need for more size in the starting lineup and more defense in the starting lineup. And you've got one two-way player in the starting lineup right now. One. That's it. Maybe you can call Christie a possible.
Rui's been playing tremendously good defense, Tom.
I don't.
You should stop listening to the radio and watch the games instead of listening to them.
I watch every fucking game, man.
I watch every game. I love Nick Claxton. We aren't getting Nick Claxton. The Nets just signed him to a huge extension. He makes $27 million. It's just not in the cards. We'd have to give up too much for what would be behind AD a backup player. I like Miles Turner on the Lakers, and I'll tell you why. Because it allows you to rest LeBron on defense more, in my opinion, because you have Miles Turner handle the paint and have AD be free roaming safety like he was a couple years back, which I always thought was one of his best strengths. I think he's actually better. He's a better defender if he's able to react on the perimeter, and he closes elite. He closes on the 3-point shooters at an elite level, and it helps us better control that aspect of the game. Having said that, I think I kind of agree with Michael's take in that I don't know that Indiana's going to make him available for an overpay. I was looking at the roster for the Hornets just now. It's hard for me to see how the money works to get that guy. I feel like you need to make it like a 2 or 3 player trade to make the money work.
He makes $5 million.
$5 million.
Hood Shapiro makes 4.
Well, yeah, but we don't have any. Like, what does JHS make? Doesn't he make like 3.5,
3.4?
So he
3.9.
needs 3.9. So $4 million. It's not enough. You need to throw another player on there, and that's what I mean. Like, it just starts to
Lewis. You throw Lewis in.
I always forget about Max. All right, yeah, okay, so that works. If
throw
they
Lewis
want,
in, you throw Reddish in. There's a whole bunch of players you could match.
No, you can't throw Cameron. This is the last thing I want to talk about. Cam Reddish has earned an extension for the Lakers next season, in my opinion. I'm not saying pay him a lot, but we'll have the biannual exception next year, this coming summer. And I think that Cam Reddish is a fine player to use that on if there's not a better player available. And for what he does on this team, I think that Cam is a solid player to keep at around $5 million a year. Not much more than that. If somebody wants to pay him more than $5 million a year, great. Enjoy your money. Enjoy whatever happens on that other team. I wish you success against every other team but the Lakers. But I would like to see us. I'm a big fan of continuity, and I know that Cam's not shooting lights out, and that he's prone to making a bonehead maneuver on offense every once in a while. So is KCP, and you need a guy with his length, and you need a guy with his athleticism on the defensive end who's committed to the defensive end. The way it seems,
but if Vando is healthy,
he's not. Listen. Yes, but that's just that's.
I mean, you're ready to trade Vando. I've not pulled the trigger on trading Vando because
I don't think you can with him being hurt like this. I think people are going to wait till the final year of his deal. They'll make the Lakers rehab him for a couple of years and then wait till he's an expiring contract, just the way they did with Kendrick Nunn. I know that you believe that money is just a filler half the time in the NBA, but it doesn't look good when you trade for somebody who's making $11 million and isn't going to play for a person who is playing. And it just, unless it's for AD and Vando, okay, that's fine. Or
no, I do, but I do think there are situations where trading for a player who's injured, if you really feel that player is a great fit for the team down the road, can almost be a inspirational move at times, and a difference making move.
I don't know. I just think that
there's somebody who is intrigued by Vando's defensive potential.
I'm intrigued by Vando.
The reason why we hung on to him and gave him a contract when we knew he wasn't going to play.
It's true, Michael.
Well, I kind of look at Vando and Wood as as two trades because they haven't played. So when they do come back, that's two
found
upgrades
money. They should be and could be found money for us
if they come back.
If they come back. Even if you're not even talking about trading them, I mean, just getting them back and healthy into the rotation, that's going to really.
And they're one of the reason why we lack size, man. I mean, we got 2 6'10" guys there that Jesus, we don't have all year long. Instead, we got 6'3" guys guarding 6'5", 6'8" guys.
Yeah. So I mean, that's almost like having making a trade in a way.
That's Rob. Are you talking like Rob now there, Michael? It looks like Rob.
No, I'm not talking like Rob. What I'm talking
but Rob loves that talk, Oh, well, we got a couple of trades coming. We got Vando and Wood.
But come on, Tom. That's
no,
not
I know it's true.
It is because we're going to get better.
I know it's true. I know it's true, and I know they could help if they show up.
I never said that. What did I say that they shouldn't make any trades because of that?
No.
Tom, help the team when they come back.
I didn't say you did, but I'm saying that Rob has used that as an excuse before.
Tom just gets frustrated when the Lakers don't trade. So, and it happens every year. Kurt Affair has a good point. Vando's had foot. I'll put it back up. Vando's had foot issues since high school. These procedures have probably been a long time coming. Recovery time has been frustrating. This is the point I wanted to make. This is the last thing I want to talk about. How is it that Pablo Banchero is ready to play? And we have guys on our team who have been out for basically a year now. What is wrong with the Lakers training staff? Why is it other training staffs can get guys ready to play? And I know these are different injuries. I'm kind of being a little bit loose with the truth and a little bit, painting with broad brushstrokes and so on and so forth. But I do have we've had turnover for the training staff.
Some guys twist an ankle and they're back the next day. Some guys twist an ankle and they're out.
It's like out for 2 months. And I it's just one of the things, like, I understand kid gloves to a degree. Like, we don't want to create a reoccurring injury situation. At the same time, it's getting absurd with some of the lengths of recovery time for some of these Laker players.
What's worse now is look at the injuries that are happening to players that have never been injured before. It's like, how many players? I have to feel like most, if you look at the rate of our all-star and star players getting injured and missing games, they're going to have a hard time with an MVP contest at some point in time at the rate that we're going through players.
That's not a bad point.
Games is not going to, you're eliminating a bunch of people already who are going to not make it.
Thoughts, Michael?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it just feels like the Lakers are not completely up front with injury
really?
statuses. You know, I mean, seriously.
Oh no, Michael, please.
You know, I mean, they're always like, oh yeah, this is this, and we have to expect this. But I mean, Kendrick Nunn missed an entire year with a bone bruise. Come
Right.
on, dudes. There's something else going on there, man.
And it was
You don't miss-
possible. It
you
was
don't miss an
possible he was
entire
ready.
season with a
It was
bone
possible
bruise.
that he could have been ready to play in the conference finals. There was rumors that he was possibly going to play.
You know, so
And a
it's
year
like-
later, he still hasn't played.
So it's like, you know, I mean, come on. You know, what's really going on with these guys? Tell the truth. You know, I do know with Vando, he had both feet operated on because he had, you know, so that was, yeah. And they're saying he didn't have a setback. It was just the rehab was just taking longer than they anticipated. But then in April, when they say, well, he might be back for the playoffs, we'll know that something more was going on.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, and this is the thing. It's not so much that it's frustrating that they don't play. It's frustrating that it's been a year. It's been a year of what if we had this guy, and before that, as you said, Tom, it was with Kendrick Nunn. Over a year with Kendrick Nunn. It was 2 years of what if. Like we basically signed a guy with our biannual exception, and he never played. And so you look at the resource that's sitting there unused, a wasted resource when the Lakers are up against it. When
4
it
or
comes
5
to,
of those players on the
Yeah.
roster, like
and you know, it's just
a third of the roster is that type of player.
where is the LeBron James of feet to look after the rest of these guys? That's what I want to know, Kurt. I want to know the same thing. Anyhow, these are my thoughts. I think we're all picking the Lakers to win. Michael, I don't know are you picking the Lakers to win today, or you think it's going to be close?
I'm picking, like I said.
I know. You're not.
Check back with me when they
come
release
on,
who's
Michael.
available. I mean,
I'm calling.
you know,
I'm calling a squeaker.
If you're missing 3 starters,
Yeah.
You know.
I hear you. So
but if 2 of those 3 guys play, we'll win. It doesn't matter which ones.
All right. All right. Sorry, that's the last of this show.
We're gonna D-beam Sacramento tonight.
Anyway, all right, we're gonna D-beam Sacramento. Yeah, isn't this the 3rd time we played Sacramento in like 8 days or something ridiculous like that? The schedule
This is the playoff sweep.
It's a weird schedule this season. I don't understand why thank you, Kurt. I just found them in Blue Joe's mind, evidently. There's only a couple of them, and I'm wondering if I can add my own, along with a poll, which would make all of our lives better, Joe. Polls are awesome. Everybody should listen to polls. That's sarcasm if you're not sure of how the sarcasm font works. Anyway, I would like to thank my co-panelists or co-show, whatever the hell we all are. My friends, Michael and Tom. Tom along with Michael Heinrich from Lakerholics.com. Come by Lakerholics.com where you can engage with some lively banter in typed form, or you can record a video of yourself and post it on there. It's all up to you. And of course, I'd like to thank the extended Liquor Fast Break family, Gerald, Joe, Sean, Stone. The list goes on. There's a lot of people. I can't think of them all off the top. Empire Jeff TV, Daniel Barry, the list goes on. You guys are all awesome. Thank you, all of us. Let's have a great. We're going to help the environment we're going to help the environment by not allowing the beam to be lit. I'm pretty sure that runs on solar power, but maybe not. I kind of like the beam. I like the idea of it. I wish we had something cool with that, but more like lightsabers that we all got to walk around LA with when the Lakers win. Here we are. Thanks, Kurt, for the link. Lakerholics.com. Pop by. If it asks you to update your browser on Chrome, just update your browser. It's not spamware. It is just it's something our web designer put in to help people, remind people to update their browsers. And one refresh gets rid of it. It pisses me off too. So at any rate, that's all I'm going to say about that. Thanks everybody. Let's have a nice Saturday and go Lakers.